answer to everything, for sure. Love for yourself as well, right?
Yeah, that's actually something for the longest time I had trouble with, just because of different insecurities I had and just growing up. But yeah, for sure.
Mm. We'll touch on those insecurities when we do an episode of You Up High. Yeah.
All right, sure, sure.
We all have insecurities, so definitely I hear you. I
Yeah.
hear you on that for sure.
What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Yo, you're killing me with these questions. I love it. You're good.
I spent like an hour googling all these questions.
Okay, okay.
I didn't
It's a
think
good
of
question.
these. Google gave them to me.
Google gave it to you. Okay. Uh, that I two things came to mind as soon as you said that. That I never stop. Like I never give up. And when I say, like, let's say today I tell you, like, hey, you know what? I have this idea that um, I want to start my own, I don't know, podcast.
All right.
Just as as an example.
Yeah.
But let's say today is like it is the day that it is. It's 2021, and I say it to you. You hear it. We have the conversation. Maybe a week from now or a couple months, you don't see that podcast formulate. You might see me a year from now, and that podcast has been created, right? So it's like whenever I say something, it's gonna it's something that I set my heart out to do. Like I always do it. It doesn't matter how long it takes to get that plan off the ground. Like you'll see Arys doing what he said
All right.
he was gonna do like a year ago or like the last time you spoke to him. So that those are compliments that I've heard from people that I appreciate. I guess you know.
Yeah, that's good. How would your parents describe what you do for a living with your podcast?
My mom, I don't know my father, so he's not really involved. But if I were to speak to my mother's, um, she understands that my goal is really like for self-expression and to promote that, right?
Right.
Um, and just speaking with people and bringing different walks of life, everyday people to a platform and creating a platform and a safe space for people to speak and share themselves. You know, so I think I think what I do now kind of stems from like the teachings of my mom growing up. You know, like she taught me how to express myself. And even in moments when I felt like I wasn't able to. Um, she always taught me to find a way. So I found a way during my teenage years, you know, and I always wanted to share this with people, like just different ways of how to express yourself, you know, and share each other's stories. We all have a story. We're all we're all alive. You know what I mean? So, but we're just experiencing things in different ways, different times. But I'm sure we could find some similarities to each other's stories, right, and each other's journeys. So that's really the focus. Yeah, she would kind of acknowledge those things. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's a really good answer.
Thanks. Thanks.
um, what should I ask you that I didn't know enough to ask?
You're killing me. Wait till when you come on my show, I'm gonna give you some hard hitting ass questions. Okay? I'm just
Fair
warning you
enough.
right now. So you're killing me with these. Repeat the question. Repeat the question.
What should I ask you that I didn't know enough to ask?
What should you ask me that you didn't know enough to
I can see how that'd be a difficult one.
ask?
Do you want to skip that?
Please, please, please. Because there's a route that I do want to take that. Like I'm gonna pause positive mood today, so I don't want to get into depression, into a depressive.
Right.
I was gonna focus on like my father's stuff and all of that. I speak a lot about that on the show already, and
Right.
with Father's Day just passing, I've had a lot of conversations about this father stuff and the state that I'm in with when it comes to that. So um, I feel like that kind of has put some sort of dent in my childhood, but I'm working on letting it go and just accepting my life the way it is and who I am. And even though I don't know a piece of where I come from, no, no name, no nothing about my father, then I gotta be okay with that, you know. So yeah, I'm working on that.
All right.
You know your father
Yep.
and your mother as well.
Yeah.
Your parents.
I actually still live with them at the moment, but yeah.
Cool. What's that? I'll ask this. What's your relationship with your parents?
Uh, I I would say it's good. It hasn't always been good, and um, we don't always get along, and I sometimes have problems holding on to things that I need to learn to let go. Um, my mom actually homeschooled me for a couple years, and that she was doing it because I wasn't getting education at school, and I just held so much resentment to her, even though she didn't deserve that for a while because I didn't really like her being my teacher. It was kind of weird, your teacher being your mom, and after you're done with your mom being your teacher all day, you can't really complain about your teacher to your mom because your mom's your teacher. So,
Yes, I understand.
um, what's something people seem to misunderstand about you? Is that too hard of a question? We can skip that if we need to.
No, no, no. Fuck. Excuse my language. There's so many. No, I'm joking. This is gonna sound corny. I don't even think people misunderstand this about me. So never mind. But there have been moments where I guess people think that I won't. There have been moments that kind of stick out in my mind that like where I'm supposed to stick up for myself,
Right.
and people might think that I won't in those moments. You know,
Right.
where they think that I'm weak because I don't in that moment, but really I'm actually choosing to remove myself from the situation or not address something. Like not that I'm not able to stick up for myself or incapable of doing so. It's just I do pick my battles, and I think people don't realize how many battles I do really pick. But I like confrontation, and I like to go to war about things that I am truly passionate and believe in. But it's the people that I look at that like, is this a person I even want to waste an argument on or a debate with, or so they might look at that as like, oh, we won over Arys. Like, yeah, he's not gonna fight this one, but it's really me deciding to be like, nah, I don't even want to even go through this battle with you. So I remove myself and accept it and deal with it my own way. And that might look like weakness to some people, or they don't really know what's really going on. Like the decisions that I've made so that I can coexist. Like I have this mentality, and maybe it's a egotistical thing, but like I'm not here stuck with you. You're stuck with me.
I like that.
It's not me. But I could operate in any. I'm fine. I'm fine. However this goes. But if I open my mouth, then I don't know. But people are people. You can't change people. People will see things the way they do from their perspective, and you will from your own. And gotta find a middle ground sometimes.
Yeah. Get
So
that?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
something I've been having to learn is you can't control people.
you can, you can, you can. Do you think you can control yourself?
Yeah,
Like, is it like you can't control people, only yourself?
right.
Do you feel like that? Or do you feel like you also can't control, we can't control ourselves either?
I mean, I feel like you can control yourself with like self discipline, but there's certain everyone has weaknesses, and those weaknesses will make it harder for you to have self control until you get strengthened in that area, I guess.
Mm, I agree.
What advice would you give someone wanting to do a podcast or pursue a career similar to yours?
Um, the advice I would give would be to, I would say immerse yourself into like the community.
Right?
You know, like if we're talking about podcasting specifically, I would say immerse yourself into the community or in any art form. You know, like before I knew much about podcasting, what I did was I went to podcasting events. You know, I went to like we have this thing in Toronto called PodCamp. So it's like a what would you call it? Not a seminar. There's another term I'm looking for. It's like an event, yearly event. You
Like
know,
a
where
Comic
it's
Con, but for podcasts?
in a sense, yeah, but it's like a camp too. Like you're it's like a 3 day event where you're really getting to know, like you get to go to different sessions and stuff like that that are happening simultaneously. You get to choose which ones you want to attend, and there are some taste makers in the room or in the building. There are independent folks, you know, people from different pockets of the field, and whether it's the tech side or the storytelling side or the blog side or whatever. And yeah, I just went to learn, you know, and to make connections and to soak up before I brought this idea to life. I had the idea, but I knew I needed to learn about it. So my advice would be to um, immerse yourself into the community, and whether it's online, you know, finding some groups and like Facebook groups and joining some podcasts because there are always questions being answered in those types of groups. And ask questions, you know, and just learn about the thing that you want to pursue first. You know, it could be in you for sure, but there are some technical things that you're gonna know and learn about,
Right.
and most of those things you'll learn on the way. But I think immersing yourself into the community to be a part of something, to feel like you're, you know, I think that's important, and that's what I've done. So yeah.
Who are the most influential people to you, or who have been the most influential to you?
I'll be honest with you, like when I look at that, um, I look at like different moments in my life. Like it's not like an ongoing thing, right? Like people who have been most influential to me, um, like those that title has changed numerous times. Like someone could have been so influential to me during my teenage years, and then they weren't after the fact. You know, like I feel like people play a role in your life for many reasons, whether they're people you know or people you don't. Um, so I'd like to speak to like people right now in my life that are most influential to me are like my manager, Carlos. He's the manager for the Quiet Council, which is like this podcast management agency that where he's sort of like spearheading and launching, and he's been a mentor to me like in my life. But we're now I've known him for so long, and now we're finally getting to do things that we always spoke about in the past that we
Right.
wanted to do. You know? But he always guided me in some way, shape, or form. We would have conversations, so he's really influential. He's key in my life right now. like we're really doing some stuff and having some